It's official. I have been on every permanent roller coaster in Australia.
It was actually inspired by another place in South Australia, a town down there called Monash, I think. He knew an engineer down there who had the designs. He actually came up with the ideas for these rides and built some himself.
About a month ago, I chatted with Green Valley Farm co-owner and operator Brayden Vickery about their unique park and their one-of-a-kind human-powered roller coaster. I was fascinated to learn about the history of the park and where the designs for those rides came from. But what I didn't expect was that one comment would lead me on an adventure halfway across the country. There is a roller coaster very similar to this in a town called Keith in South Australia. It's in a park named Don Mosley Park. I don't think many people even know that it exists. Obviously, this comment was surprising to me. In fact, at first I didn't believe it and I thought Hayden must have been mistaken. Maybe the coaster had been removed and he was remembering it from the past, or maybe it was some other piece of playground equipment that he mistook for a coaster. I had already been on every permanent roller coaster in Australia. There was surely no more. But a quick search for this little town named Keith and, lo and behold, a coaster. Unmistakably similar to Green Valley Farms, not documented on RCDB, and seemingly unknown to the entire coaster enthusiast community. I knew right away what I had to do. I had to find out where it came from, and of course, I had to ride it. Welcome to a journey like no other I've ever taken. The mission to uncover Australia's forgotten roller coaster. Our journey began in Adelaide, where I was joined by some fellow coaster enthusiasts eager to gain Australia's rarest credit. Welcome to South Australia. I'm here with Ejector Bear Time and my good friend Heidi. We're about to find out who the hell Grant Telfer is and why he built a roller coaster in some little town called Keith.
The mystery.
In my interview with Brayden Vickery, he had mentioned that Green Valley Farms rides were designed by an engineer from South Australia. So discovering this new coaster in South Australia meant some pieces of the puzzle were already clicking into place. I remembered that Brayden had mentioned the engineer's original park was in a town called Monash. So that's where our search began, and that's where we found Grant Telfer. Our first stop of this road trip is here at the Monash Adventure Playground. This was Grant Telfer's original playground that he built himself. It originally consisted of all of his different designs. In fact, his family is still around the area. Their business, I believe, is just across the road. And this used to have two of his roller coaster designs, several of his really large slides, and lots of his other rides, some of which still exist today at Green Valley Farm. Today it has been modernized. It closed in the 1990s due to litigation and insurance costs. Got little tributes here to the playground itself and to Grant Telfer. Monash Adventure Playground was Telfer's original passion project. He was a well-regarded local who operated an engineering company, and he put his passion for construction into creating a paradise for locals in the 1960s, complete with wild, hand-operated rides, slides, and contraptions, and with free entry. And if you look at the footage and photos, you'll immediately see that we're on the right track. Some of these rides are identical to the ones that still operate at Green Valley Farm today. But Monash was on a much larger scale. Built over a 20-year period from pieces of scrap metal, this was a unique slice of paradise that saw visitors drive for hours to reach the park, at its peak attracting up to 300,000 visitors every year. Grant's own daughter described it this way. He had such a vivid imagination when it came to making playground equipment. It started with just a few small swings and slippery dips, you know, just the usual old small playground stuff. Then he built a couple of large items, one being 3 different slides off one 15-foot high tower. The different equipment brought families from other Riverland towns and lineups started occurring. Dad hates lineups, so he built more stuff, different seesaws, spring-based animals, rotary cones. That brought tourists from outside the area, and more lineups. So more equipment was made. The roller coaster, flying foxes, bigger slides, even more variations of rotary cones and seesaws, etc. The playground ended up covering an area of 5 acres, and in school holidays and long weekends, it was packed. Delighted squealing from kids and adults filled the air. It was free to enter and open 24 hours, 7 days per week, 365 days per year, even Christmas Day. As Grant's daughter mentioned, Monash too featured a forgotten Aussie roller coaster. In fact, it featured 2. Not only one of the single rail coasters that have led us on this journey in the first place, but what might be the only model of a larger dual rail coaster model that Telfer installed at the park. So this is our first Grant Telfer design of the trip. This is the Tarzan swing. It's a replica, but Grant Telfer did design it, and it's absolutely insane. You have to jump off those stairs at the back there and swing. It's absolutely awesome.
Oh, oh, that does feel close. Oh, no.
So these towers behind me is where the giant slide would have stood, which is definitely the most striking part of the original Monash playground. There's still one very much like it that exists at Green Valley Farm, but this one was a 3-slide tower that included a spiral slide, a 60-meter long straight slide, and one of those bumpy slides as well. So that would have been absolutely incredible, probably also very dangerous. Monash as it exists today is completely different to what it once was. Litigation and insurance claims led to the park's closure in 1992, and with that, most of Grant Telfer's original rides vanished, including both of the roller coasters. Grant's daughter described it this way. Yes, a few nothing-type insurance claims spoiled it for hundreds of thousands of people. The few claims were pathetic, but then the insurance company got nervous and refused to renew the insurance cover. That put Dad at great risk. Too bad that he'd provided such an awesome facility and never made a cent from it. But society in general has headed down that who can we sue path. It's a sad and, to me, frustrating part of current day life. People need to learn to take much more responsibility for their own lives and choices. But while the new Monash playground is far less unique and a lot more wrapped in cotton wool, there still is a charm to it. What I'm finding really interesting now that we're actually visiting Monash is there's so much of Grant Telfer still in this modernization of the playground. Some of it's just generic playground equipment, but some of it, like those towers and the Tarzan swing, you see it and you think, I've seen something exactly like this at Green Valley Farm or in pictures of the old park. This is really cool to see. I'm glad that they kept his spirit alive in this place. Monash was a small town. In fact, there wasn't even any accommodation nearby, so we had to stay down the road at a lake resort in Barmera. But right away, from the charm of the playground and the traces of Grant's legacy around the village, we knew we were on the trail to uncovering this forgotten roller coaster and its origins. This was the hometown of a roller coaster designer who built and designed his coasters with the express intent of letting people ride them for free. And the cherished memories of those who got to experience Monash Playground in its heyday deserve to be kept alive. Alright, we have just left Monash Adventure Playground. So once again, this was the original Grant Telfer Playground with all of his OG designs. Obviously, what we've just seen is much more modernized than what you would have seen in the archival footage that we have, but it's really kept the spirit of the place alive. And this was a great first stop for this Grant Telfer themed road trip. We're about to hit the road, see a couple of sights on the way. Our next stop is very exciting. Word spread about the Monash Playground far and wide across South Australia, and families would drive hours to the South Australian Riverland to visit the park. But the rides also caught the attention of other towns and other parks, particularly in the 1980s, when several of Grant's slides and roller coasters would spring up at various parks around the country. Grant loaned the designs of his rides to Green Valley Farms' Pat Stewart, who began construction on his own park in New South Wales in the early to mid-80s. But Telfer designs would also make their way around South Australia to parks in St Kilda, Murray Bridge, and of course, Keith. Keith is a tiny town of around 1,300 people on the highway between Adelaide and Melbourne, and in 1980, it became home to a Telfer roller coaster.
It was actually sold in 1980 to the Keith War Memorial Community Centre to put together, and it was called, in the paper, a mini roller coaster.
Ladies and gentlemen, we found it. Dubbed locally as either the train or the monorail, this 55-metre-long Grant Telfer single rail coaster has existed at the Don Mosley Playground in Keith for the last 43 years, the older but smaller sibling to Green Valley Farms' bizarre and renowned roller coaster. The ride was installed in a stretch of what was then Caravan Park, and has since become something of a sideshow attraction for motorists travelling through on the road trip between Melbourne and Adelaide. Yet in all this time, to coaster enthusiasts, it has been completely unknown. This is credit number 75, the Keith Monorail, a coaster I only knew existed about a month ago. So I have just ridden the Keith Monorail. This was built by Grant Telfer as well, the same designer who made the roller coaster that still exists at Green Valley Farm, the two roller coasters that were at Monash, and the ones at Puzzle Park and St Kilda. This one obviously still exists, which I didn't know until a month ago, which is just so exciting for me as someone who's really into roller coaster history. There we go in the background. Hell yeah. In terms of how it compares to Green Valley Farms, obviously this one's a lot smaller. There's a lot less speed to it. I didn't find any of the transitions gave me kind of airtime like Green Valley Farms one does. So obviously it's not as good, but one of the good aspects is that the trains, they don't have like as high a bars, so it's much less restrictive, much more comfortable to sit in. It's just a fun and unique little ride. Look at it, that's so cool. And this is all built and designed by one man.
So, Dee Cee arrivals on Leviathan, you can pay $25 to do backward seat, or you can fly for $1,000 down to Keith, South Australia, and do this backwards.
A couple of facts I learned from listening to a podcast about this thing. The whole track was made up of 5 segments of steel, which each weighed about 3/4 of a ton each. All of it is exactly as it was when it was built 43 years ago. The only thing that has ever had to be replaced due to maintenance is bearings in the train wheels. So this is all as it was when it was designed by Grant Telfer. He sent them all of the material and about 11 pages on how to construct it, and they put it together here themselves. It was absolutely incredible to have discovered the Keith Monorail. As a Green Valley Farm local, the resemblance was uncanny, and not only was I having the time of my life gaining a new credit, it was confirmation that we had uncovered the work of a roller coaster designer who might have been all but forgotten to the coaster enthusiast community. While it's nothing special by today's standards, it's truly incredible to think that it was designed by one man with a passion and a bit of scrap metal. Okay, ejector bear time. Heidi, what are your first thoughts on the Keith Monorail?
You know, for something that is sort of a glorified piece of playground equipment, it's really fun.
It is a lot of fun.
I think it's a joy. I'm quite glad I got to ride it.
There's something also that brings you back to sort of being a little kid by
Yeah.
like, once you've ridden it down and then the quick mad rush to rush it back up to the top of the...
there is that.
Oh,
Lift
absolutely, yeah. It's
Yes, lift hill, as we'll call it.
so charming. Yeah, I absolutely loved
it's
it
full
as
of
well.
charm. I think that's the word. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes much less effort to push that one up to the top of the hill than Green Valley Farms. So Tinga, take note. We'll probably come back and get more rides on it at some point, but that was the whole point of this trip, was to get here and get on this thing. And I'm sure after learning more about Grant Telfer, you can see exactly why. Make sure you get here to Keith. Credit acquired and history tracked down, we continued on our way, exploring the southeast of the state of South Australia. We had possibly the best pub meal I've ever had at the Keith Hotel, explored the town at sunset, and bounced our way across the state back towards Adelaide, making a few stops along the way. It was fascinating to explore this rural region of grain silos, water towers, and stone architecture, which concealed the story of a true Australian amusement entrepreneur. I was so happy to have found what we were looking for, but there was one last stop to make. Alright, so we have left Keith. We're making one last little stop over here to... Just over here is a place called Puzzle Park. It's currently abandoned. Obviously we can't go in because it's private property, but this is the home of the last of Grant Telfer's things, including an SB&O version of his single rail coasters. Unlike most of the other parks to have purchased Telfer's designs, Puzzle Park was a full-scale amusement park located in the south of the town of Murray Bridge. Consisting of those iconic and recognisable Telfer rides and slides, the park opened in 1985 and at its peak attracted up to 3,000 visitors in a day. Puzzle Park, like Monash and Green Valley Farm, featured an element of risk as part of the appeal of the park. A 90-metre water slide, a flying fox, rocking mechanical giraffes, Australia's largest maze with overhead walkways, and so much more. But the same public liability insurance crisis that claimed Grant Telfer's Monash Park would result in the eventual demise of Puzzle Park. While the Murray Bridge Park managed to struggle onwards for another decade, it eventually closed in 2007, and it has remained abandoned ever since, with most of the equipment remaining on the site. You can just see the slide in there. Just quickly change angle. There's a spinning ride of some sort just here. In 2021, the land was purchased by a new owner with the intention of raising the park and developing the land, but as of yet, no work has started. What's really striking to me is how it's still, like, nothing's been done, nothing's changed. Obviously everything's stripped out, but it's still, you can still see exactly how this would have been when it closed, which is 2007, so it's been quite a long time now. But it's still here. And we've just spotted, you can just vaguely see right there the very top of the roller coaster track where the tyre acts as a rubber buffer at the end of the U-shuttle layout. That is 100% confirmed an SB&O Grant Telfer coaster. Along with the tributes at Monash and the last operating coaster in Keith, Puzzle Park's remains stand as one of the final solemn remnants of the brilliant work of Grant Telfer, and they might not be around for much longer. So we decided to stop over for the Murray Bridge Bunyip, and it turns out he's gone. I don't know where, but it looks like he's under renovation. If you want to know what we're talking about, I think there's a Theme Park Crazy video about it. And so our journey came to an end. This was far more than a road trip for a simple kiddie credit. We'd followed the trail of Australia's forgotten roller coaster designer through South Australia, seeing the remains of his legacy and uncovering one of his roller coasters that might otherwise have been forgotten about. Grant Telfer's legacy is from a time when creative fun prevailed over senseless litigation and insurance companies being completely risk-averse. If there's one thing that I think Grant Telfer should be remembered for, it's that his Monash playground was always, and remains to be, free admission. He did not build his rides for profit. He was a man with a passion and a few pieces of scrap metal who decided to build something unique and fun for his community to enjoy. In its heyday, his work captured the imagination of people from all over the country, and in the process, he designed perhaps one of the most unique and rarest roller coaster designs anywhere in the world. Alright, we've just wrapped up our road trip with a lovely pub meal here at the Cooper's Ale House in Adelaide. What have we thought of the road trip overall?
Really fun. Yeah, really fun. Got a new credit down on the list. And yeah, it was just fun just seeing all of just like the Australiana and small towns and little side quests on the way.
Very different to your usual roller coaster road trip, being so far outside of a major city. It was very, very interesting to take
enjoying the ruralness and
that
sort of culture of everything.
Big Orange.
Oh, the Big Orange.
Australia's
the
big
orange.
things, man, underrated.
Well, that's going to bring the documentary to a close. I hope you've enjoyed learning about this strange little roller coaster and the man who built it. Make sure you check out Ejector Bear Time. He will have a vlog of this trip coming out as well. Make sure you like and subscribe down below, and stay tuned for plenty more coming in 2024. It is such an exciting year for this channel. So like and subscribe, stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.